This training episode will demonstrate how to acknowledge volunteers by using the Mass Email Volunteer feature in the RTSP package. Let's walk through the logistics in setting up a volunteer day from start to finish. Just a quick reminder that this training resource is based on the assumption that you've created an active campaign, which our timeline will then begin. Our first step will involve setting up the volunteer job and shift for the volunteer center. If you need a quick reminder on how to complete those steps, there are a number of related RTSP admin videos in the description section below. The next phase in our timeline is volunteer management. This is when volunteers will be registering for your volunteer project, and you might even have to reassign some of them if they've registered for the wrong project. Now the magic happens. Volunteer Day. Neighbors helping neighbors. Nothing more beautiful. So let's focus on the last section here in our timeline, closing out this volunteer job. First step is to complete the volunteer hours for the volunteer job to ensure that we capture all the volunteers which participated for that day. From here, we can then mass email the volunteers thank you emails. Lastly, to close out the volunteer job, you'll want to make sure you uncheck the display from website and then check the volunteer job as inactive. Let's jump into Salesforce. From the home screen, we're going to navigate to the volunteer job object. I'm going to select the Safe at Home Wheezy volunteer job, which I'm going to be closing out. From the volunteer job record, we first want to inspect the volunteer hours data to ensure all the volunteers are accounted for. Therefore, we can click on the View All button in the volunteer hours related list. All the records will be listed here. An easy way to inspect these records would be clicking on the Mass Edit Volunteer Hours button in the top right corner. From this page, you can clearly see the data, which includes contact name, volunteer shift, status, role, type, hours worked, number of volunteers, and lastly, the start date. If you do not see a volunteer that engaged on the job, you can click on the little magnifying glass and locate the individuals from within your contacts, and thereby complete the remaining information to enter them into the volunteer hours. The status section will be critical when using the Mass Email Volunteers feature. You want to make sure that the emails are going to the correct groups, so making sure that your volunteer statuses are correctly marked is strongly encouraged. While there are a few options to select for the status as you close out a volunteer job, the primary status options to select would be completed, no-show, or canceled. Now, just a quick reminder that volunteer coordinators and house captains are not automatically tracked in volunteer hours when you select them in the campaign record, so you'll need to add them to the list to accurately document their engagement. Once you are satisfied with the volunteer hours list, you can click Save and Close. Now with these volunteer hours correctly marked, let's jump back into the volunteer job record and then send a thank you email to the volunteers which have completed this project. In the top right corner, we're going to select the Mass Email Volunteers button. Here, from this page, you'll be able to select your settings for your thank you email. You can also use the same mechanism to send follow-up emails for no-shows and canceled volunteers. First, you'll want to select the email address which this email will come from. Second, you'll want to select the group of volunteers which will receive this email based on their status recorded in their volunteer hours record. Third, we'll check to include contacts only once. This will ensure Salesforce will only send one email to an individual even if this volunteer completed multiple shifts for this volunteer job. We see that Salesforce is recognizing that only 3 of our 5 volunteers have completed this project. We'll leave the log activity for each email checked. Next, we'll select the object which we wish to use the email template from. In this case, we will use the volunteer job object where my thank you email resides. The last step is to then select that desired template. Once you have selected the email template, it will appear below to ensure that you are sending the correct template. Once ready, you can click Send at the top right corner at the top of the page, and Salesforce will verify that the emails have been sent. Here's one of those emails which I have sent through Salesforce. I'll share with you that I have gone ahead and further customized the original RTSP template HTML to better reflect my local communication needs, as you can do yourself for your affiliate. We can then close out the page, which takes us back to the volunteer jobs record page, and then we can now see in the past activity notifications the 3 emails sent to those volunteers which completed the project. The remaining step to close out this volunteer job will be to uncheck display from website and then check as this is an inactive volunteer job. Thank you for watching this video. Make sure to subscribe to this channel for future tips and updates on the RTSP platform. Thanks.